Hello everyone, this is Jinx, one of the Monster Hunter math guys. So as we covered in our last video, artillery is a trap kinda. This video covers more of the kinda side of things. The last video covered the case in which artillery 5 is never worth it, which is charge blade, link in the top right and description if you haven't seen that yet. As a brief refresher, there are 3 different situations you might use artillery: impact charge blade where it's never worth using, Gunlance where it's always worth using, and then explosive bowguns where it is sometimes worth using. But explaining why it's always worth it on Gunlance and why it's only sometimes worth it on Bowgun is a rather long explanation, so a few things I want to mention first. First things first, I want to make it very clear that like a lot of our videos, this is not meant to be an opinion piece. When I say that it's not worth using artillery 5 on charge blade, that it's always worth using it on Gunlance, and that it's only sometimes worth using it on Bowgun, that's not meant to be an opinion. What we're aiming to do here is present the factual information based on the in-game stats and damage formulas on whether or not it is worth investing into artillery 5 on sets for damage. Build making in Monster Hunter World is all about trade-offs. When you make the choice to fit in artillery 5 into your set, you have to trade off other damage skills. And what we're examining in both of these videos is whether those trade-offs are worth it. We're aiming to present factual information so you can make informed build decisions, not present opinions. And another thing I want to mention on that is just because we're presenting factual information, please be nice when it comes to other people's build choices. People are allowed to play how they want, and once they know the information, they can make whatever choices they want on their personal playstyles or choices. And finally, just a quick reminder, we do have a Twitter where we post updates about videos. You can see a bunch of the updates from when Tuna and I first met a few weeks ago. And Tuna does stream live on Twitch almost every single day. Following us on these 2 platforms is one of the best way to help support the channel completely for free. Alright, so let's talk artillery 5 on both Gunlance and explosive bowgun. As I mentioned earlier, the TLDR is that on Gunlance you always should be running artillery 5 no matter what style you're using as long as you shell. And on bowgun it's a much more nuanced argument, and sometimes you want artillery 5, sometimes you don't due to damage caps, which we have discussed in a previous video. Let's cover Gunlance first because it is the only situation in which artillery 5 is always worth it. In terms of DPS gains, you are always better off running artillery 5 than not on Gunlance regardless of style. For long, wide, and long Gunlance, all of these benefit more in terms of damage from running artillery 5 than running other loadouts. The only exception is Swing Lance, but Swing Lance kind of died in Iceborne because of how much the other styles got buffed. Also, Swing Lance was very heavily dependent on both rocksteady and flinch locking monsters, and flinch locking isn't really a thing in Iceborne outside of a few weapons anymore. Master rank monsters just have 2 higher thresholds for tripping and flinching now, so Swing Lance kind of died. If you don't know what all of these different Gunlance shelling styles are, how the combos are different, and how they play differently, we do actually have a video on that, although it's about high rank where the tier rankings in terms of which ones are the best were different from master rank. So the explanations of the styles and combos are still accurate, but the math is no longer applicable in Iceborne. Anyway, in Master Rank Artillery 5 is used on every single Gunlance style, but let's go through them one by one. So let's look at Long Gunlance first. So Long Gunlance is actually the meta Gunlance style in Master Rank because they basically tripled the damage it had in High Rank. Now I do take issue with how they balance Gunlance in Master Rank, but that's an entirely different video subject. But the TLDR is that Long Gunlance currently is the highest DPS option out of every single Gunlance style, while also being the safest one. Because of the fact that it uses only shelling damage, its damage caps out as soon as you get Artillery 5, Capacity Boost, as well as Focus 3. There is literally no other way to increase the DPS output of Long Gunlance past these 3 skills, so you just stack as many defensive skills as you can possibly fit. In fact, Godhi, one of our set optimizers and also a Gunlance main, has gone through and calculated DPS numbers on all the different varieties of endgame builds you can have with Gunlance. And the Long Gunlance hits 216.76 DPS as long as you have a Wormstake Blast attached to the monster. And keep in mind, this is shelling damage, so it's fixed, so it doesn't matter which part of the body you hit. So you can hit any part of the body for a DPS combo that's higher than the other Gunlance styles, while also fitting in as many defensive skills as you possibly can ever want into a build with a combo that's very easy to learn. Balanced. I will probably have a video talking more about this in depth in the future, but TLDR Artillery 5 is mandatory on long gunlance. Now next up we have normal gunlance, which uses the full bursto playstyle. This one is a little more complicated because you have both a high amount of raw damage and fixed damage in your combo. However, out of all the shelling styles, this one does deal the least amount of shelling damage, meaning it's going to be the worst contender for Artillery 5. However, due to limitations in terms of how much more EFR you can gain on normal gunlance, you still end up running Artillery 5 if you want more damage. On an 80 sever hit zone value, which mind you is very high, most of the monsters will have much lower sever hit zone values. When you drop from Artillery 5 to Artillery 3, you need about 65 more EFR on your looping combo to match the damage of the Artillery 5 set. Which, by the way, you cannot get. That's too much EFR to make up for by losing Artillery 5 on a normal Gunlance set. And on the non-looping combo, which is what you're using 90% of the time on normal Gunlance because monsters in Master Rank just don't stop moving long enough for you to actually get loops off, you need 52 more EFR, which you also cannot really achieve with an Artillery 3 set. And keep in mind these all assume an 80 hit zone value, which is a very good sever hit zone value. Most of the time you'll need even higher EFR differentials to achieve the same damage as an Artillery 5 set. And unlike long, you also have to soften, which requires 2 softening attacks because Gunlance is a technical weapon. TLDR, run Artillery 5 on normal Gunlance. Quick side note, yes, the 242 DPS on the looping combo is higher than long Gunlance's combo, except you basically never get to use this in Master Rank. This loop combo is the combo you do with normal Gunlance once you actually start getting the loop chains going and you can get your full burst out faster. But it takes 11.5 seconds to do the non-looping combo first into the looping combo once. Monsters don't even stay tripped for 11 seconds. So you don't even get a single full loop off before the monster can get up in Master Rank. And yes, you can just rocksteady Unga Bunga, but then you're not guaranteed to hit at least an 80 hit zone value on a monster because they're moving around. So basically, even though this can hit higher on paper than long Gunlance, in an actual hunt you always end up dealing less DPS because normal just isn't very strong in Master Rank. Its combo takes longer to do than a true charge slash on Greatsword, so it's just very hard to ever get it to work. Also, you have to run a full damage skill loadout to even scratch this kind of DPS on normal Gunlance, and long Gunlance only needs 3 attack skills and then just stacks all the defensive skills in the world. Balanced. Alright, finally we have wide Gunlance. Now, wide Gunlance does deal more shelling DPS than normal Gunlance, so Artillery 5 is even stronger on wide Gunlance than on long Gunlance. Now, because Artillery 5 is worth it on normal Gunlance, it's therefore even more worth it on wide Gunlance, so I don't actually have any particular DPS comparison numbers for wide Gunlance. Also, wide Gunlance is just the saddest of boys in Iceborne because it got just slapped around silly by Capcom. First off, before Rajang was introduced into the game, there was 0 wide 6 Gunlances. And a wide 5 Gunlance doing regular shelling, which is the one it's supposed to be strong at, does less damage per shell than a long 6 doing regular shelling. And then once we got the Rajang wide 6 Gunlance, it does have wide 6 shelling, but it has terrible raw for a Rajang weapon. With only 285 raw, its EFR ended up pretty low. And it also has terrible sharpness, which is a huge problem for wide Gunlance. So with a protective polish build that you have to polish every minute 30 to maintain your white sharpness for your poke damage output, you still deal less DPS than long Gunlance does. TLDR, wide Gunlance does like Artillery 5, but there's not much of a reason to run it compared to long. Okay, that covers all of the Gunlances. TLDR, you want to run Artillery 5 on every single Gunlance style that uses shelling, and Swinglance, which does not use shelling, is no longer really viable in Iceborne. Alright, now let's discuss the last situation you might use Artillery 5 in, which is explosive bowguns. So specifically, sticky heavy bowgun and light bowgun. This is the much more nuanced case because generally you want to run Artillery 5, but it's not always a good idea. The reason it's not always a good idea is because it is really easy for you to hit the raw cap on your bowgun if you run Artillery 5. If you don't know what the raw cap is, then we do have a video explaining exactly how that works, so link in the top right if you want to learn about that. But basically, once you hit 2 times your base true raw, you can no longer get any more damage from raw increasing skills, and artillery does count towards this. Now, because artillery 5 and artillery 3 have a respective artillery modifier of 1.725 and 1.495 with feline bombardier, and this only multiplies on base true raw, in order to hit the raw cap on our stickies and wyverns, we need either 27.5% of our base true raw in bonus true raw, or we need 50.5%. Remember, artillery only multiplies with base true raw, not bonus. This is where the nuances come in, because for sacrificing artillery 5 we can get true spare shot, which is really nice. True spare shot is on average around a 43% increase to clip size, while regular spare shot is only a 25% increase. Overall, this is roughly a 14.4% increase in ammo clip size on average. Also, keep in mind a 40% clip size increase is not a 14% DPS increase. You have to account for reload times in DPS calculations, so it's quite a bit lower than that. Now, the exact DPS increase from true spare shot depends on the bowgun you use, but the TLDR is that it is going to be a higher damage increase in a vacuum to get artillery 5 than true spare shot. But we don't hunt in a vacuum, and we have to consider the raw cap. And on explosive bowguns, it is very possible to hit the damage cap with a true spare shot set. In which case, you are dealing the same damage as an artillery 5 set while also getting true spare shot. Now, to showcase the nuances of this situation, we'll be covering both heavy bowgun and light bowgun. Let's start with heavy bowgun. So there are basically 2 meta heavy bowgun sets for explosive ammunition. One uses artillery 5, the other uses true spare shot. So for pure cluster and sticky damage, you're using the Rajang heavy bowgun because it has the highest base true raw and therefore has the highest potential damage when you hit cap. This particular build is the full damage, only uses regular spare shot, not true spare shot setup for the Rajang heavy bowgun. There is so much damage loaded into this set that if you either attack up large and feline bombardier, you already hit the damage cap for your wyvern and sticky damage. Now, it does take a bit more for you to hit your cluster damage cap because it is not affected by artillery. However, clusters aren't that big of a deal in Iceborne. You can only carry half as many clusters as you used to be able to due to it getting nerfed in Iceborne, and also rocksteady tanking doesn't really work that well, so you really only use those during downs. Most of your damage during a hunt on explosive heavy bowgun now comes from stickies and wyverns. Now, the issue with this setup is that because you hit the raw cap on your stickies and wyverns so quickly, if your team has an attack up extra large song from a hunting horn, if you use evasion mantle, if you trigger fortify, anything like that, you don't get any extra damage on your stickies and wyverns. In fact, the raw on this is so high, if your teammates use demon powder, you don't get any benefit from it. Generally speaking, for solo play, this isn't a problem, but if you do know you're going to be playing with a hunting horn on your team, or you know you're planning on proccing fortify in the guiding lands or anything like that, you will get less returns using this build. Artillery 5 just makes you hit your raw cap too quickly. Now, conversely, we can instead run a true spare shot setup instead of an artillery 5 setup. Now, this true spare shot setup is interesting because on the Rajang heavy bowgun, you actually hit the exact same raw, meaning you'll be dealing the same cluster damage. And in exchange, you get true spare shot. Now, true spare shot is about a 14% so increase on your clip sizes over regular spare shot. This is really nice, especially when you're mostly spamming stickies at a monster until they fall down. The issue is even if you eat up for attack up large, feline bombardier, might see demon powder and mega demon drug, you still don't hit the sticky and wyvern damage cap. However, you do hit the sticky and wyvern damage cap very quickly. So if you have an evasion mantle active, or you have a teammate with attack up extra large on hunting horn, or you have a palico with choral orchestra who plays the attack up song, or you trigger fortify twice in the guiding lands, you will hit this cap. Additionally, you get to fit in a lot more defensive skills that you can sub out for other things if you want to, so at least for the Rajang heavy bowgun, in my opinion, the true spare shot set is always better. However, even though the Rajang heavy bowgun technically deals the most damage out of explosive heavy bowguns, it's not in general considered the meta choice the Zora heavy bowgun is. So even though the Zora heavy bowgun has less raw and therefore deals less damage with clusters compared to Rajang, it actually ends up dealing a lot more DPS with its stickies because it doesn't have to use auto reload stickies. Additionally, the Zora heavy bowgun has the benefit of also having sleep ammunition and also having poison. Now, poison on bowguns is a very unique case because it's the only situation in which poison duration upset bonus is really good. There's a few reasons for this. So first off, with sticky bowguns, you don't have to run any crit skills, so you don't lose that much damage running a poison duration upset bonus. Secondly, because it is a sub-ammo type, you don't really lose damage running a gun that can run poison. With melee weapons, you sacrifice a lot of your damage potential trying to fit in poison into a build. By which I mean fitting in skills related to poison, because obviously Gold Rathian weapons are kind of busted. But the poison is just a nice little bonus, we don't put any skills into it. Thirdly, you have the ability to just fire and forget poison ammunition. On a 3-star weak monster, it generally takes you 2 poison 2s to get that first poison, and then you just switch back over to your primary ammos and keep shooting those. Poison duration up doubles the amount of time your poison is applied on a monster, meaning on a 3-star weak to poison monster, you deal over 1,000 damage for 2 poison shots at the start of a hunt. That's about 500 DPS, which is really high. Now, this is the more nuanced case for Artillery 5 versus running True Spare Shot. See, this particular Artillery 5 set needs Attack Up Large, Feline Bombardier, Might Seed, and Demon Powder all to hit the Sticky and Wyvern cap. In fact, this actually goes 11 over the cap, so you can omit either Might Seed or Demon Powder. Including all the other raw buffs in the build, this hits our 27.5% of base true raw requirements. But if we look at the True Spare Shot version of this set with Artillery 3, we do gain 6 attack boosts in exchange for losing those 2 vitality decos that were just placeholders in the previous build. But even with that 6 attack boost and eating 4 Mega Demon Drug, Demon Powder, Might Seed, Attack Up Large, and Feline Bombardier, we are still short of hitting the cap by a pretty large amount. 42 true raw short in fact, which puts us at a 10.5 damage less per Sticky 3. And 37 less damage per Wyvern. Not accounting for Master Rank Defense mod, which we're still not 100% certain on the value of. But remember, the Artillery 3 set does have more raw, and clusters do not scale with artillery, meaning it will deal more damage with its clusters than the Artillery 5 set. Which means without outside buffs like a Hunting Horn Attack Up Extra Large, Choral Orchestra from a Palico, or whatever other things, in solo play it's a bit more nuanced whether you want to use True Spare Shot or Artillery 5. Now if you do get lucky, True Spare Shot's always going to be better. But Artillery 5 has a guaranteed damage increase and still has regular Spare Shot. Really, at the end of the day, for solo play, it's up to you. However, if you're playing with a Hunting Horn, or you're planning on proccing Fortify, or you're planning on doing anything that'll give you some extra bonus true raw, then you should definitely be running True Spare Shot. Finally, we have Sticky Light Bowgun. Now, Sticky Light Bowgun's a bit less nuanced. So, Sticky Light Bowgun has pretty much the exact same comparison as the Zora Heavy Bowguns, except with the Garuga Light Bowgun instead, because it does run good sticky ammo as well as poison. Basically, Artillery 5 Sticky Light Bowgun does also hit cap naturally, while you do need something like a Hunting Horn Attack Up Extra Large for True Spare Shot to hit cap. But due to the lower base true raw, the Artillery 3 set does get closer in damage without having an extra buff to hit the cap. And on top of that, there is another issue with Sticky Light Bowgun, which is that you don't have clusters or Wyvern ammo. The only damage sources you have are stickies, poison ammo, as well as Wyvern blasts. This presents a problem, which is running out of ammunition. For this reason, True Spare Shot is almost always considered the better option over Artillery 5 because it gives you more ammo to work with. You'll simply run out of ammo on an Artillery 5 set before the monster dies unless you get really lucky with your spare shots. Now, if you're in a team environment, you have to deal less damage, so Artillery 5 can be nice then, but also if you're in a team environment and you have a Hunting Horn on your team, you should still be running True Spare Shot because you'll be hitting the same damage cap. And yes, you can run the Rajang Light Bowgun because it lacks poison ammo but has more damage per sticky, and you can also run the Shara Light Bowgun because it has more crowd control ammo. But the comparisons remain exactly the same for those as well. True Spare Shot simply gives you enough ammo to work with. Alright, that is everything for this video. I know it was quite a long one, but we had a lot of math to cover to explain the nuances of Artillery 5 and Iceborne. To briefly summarize, on Gunlance, Artillery 5 is always good, on Chargeblade, Artillery 5 is never good, and on Bowguns, it's complicated. Thank you so much as always for checking out the video. If you have any friends who are interested in the mathematical impact of Artillery 5, be sure to share the videos with them. And if you yourself enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video and leave a comment below. All of these things really do help the channel out a lot. And also a huge thank you to all of the people who helped make this video happen. So a huge thank you to our friend and set optimizer on the Discord server Godhi, who did crunch all of the Gunlance related numbers with Artillery 5. And also a huge thank you to RhytmWiz, DeathCream, Aradi, and Ultimate Chat Gamer, with whom I've had many discussions about the nuances of Bowgun and Artillery 5. And a huge thank you to our friend Zahn, who did provide the background footage for all of the Gunlance related parts of the video. And finally, a huge thank you to our friend Phemeto, who did provide all of the Bowgun footage for this video. Links to all of their channels and various other things they'd like to shill in the description. And if you'd like to meet some like-minded hunters to hunt with, or just discuss various different Monster Hunter World topics, or just come hang out in general chat, be sure to check out our Discord server, the Mathlos Nest. Just please be sure to keep all Iceborne related discussion to our Iceborne channels to make sure our PC players can avoid spoilers if they'd like to. And of course, we do have our Twitter where we post updates about videos and various things that interest us, and Tuna does stream live on Twitch almost every single day. And of course, none of this would be possible without the generosity of our patrons. In the last video, we did a full Patreon callout, so we didn't get to mention the new patrons yet. So a huge thank you to our new patrons Overheat, Fook No, Samantha Falcon, and Wanish Shichi. Thank you and every single one of our patrons so much. Your support means the world to us, especially in your continued support after such a long hiatus. And thanks to your generous donations, we were able to fly Tuna over here so we could hang out in person. Okay, that is all we have for this video. We have plenty more on the way, including the Hunting Horn meta video, as well as various videos about the new updates coming out. Expect the Hunting Horn video for next week, as this weekend is my birthday, so I won't be able to get too much work done during that, and we do want to cover the new updates as soon as possible. And of course, if you want to see any of those as soon as they come out, be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and that way YouTube will let you know the moment things come out. If you don't click the notification bell, YouTube won't notify you, because subscription basically just means recommend videos like this to me in the future. Happy hunting, hunters. We'll see you in the next one. Bye!